Have you ever met somebody in our business that, like, before they were popping, they were kind of a dick, and then once they became very successful, they were the biggest dick?
I don't know too many people in our business that are really successful, like your level or my level, that are dicks.
Yeah. Well, let me think about that. Yeah.
While Andrew ponders his latest epiphany, welcome back to the channel, and I'm going to give this to you guys right up front today so I don't get any complaints. The cringe I've got for you in this video is off the charts. So if you're one of my regulars, you'll know I don't always give these warnings, but when I do, yeah, I'm not joking around, because on the latest episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Andrew Schulz made an appearance, and at this point, it's undeniable that he has come full circle and completed his downfall. Schulz is officially a clown. The comment section on YouTube was absolutely wild. I've never seen so much negativity towards a JRE guest compared to this. Here are just a few to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Wow, the comments are so negative, I thought that Bert was on. 3 minutes in and he's already had 2 fake Schulz epiphanies. He tries to pretend to be interested and have deep insights, like he read How to Win Friends and Influence People for Dummies. Nobody gives it up for Andrew like Andrew. Watch Schulz say a bunch of nothing while trying to sound intelligent. Damn, the internet really flipped on this guy. Jamie, pull up the documentary Andrew made about how successful he is, where he cries about his achievements. Andrew is the exact type of guy that thinks comedians are modern-day philosophers. Just coming here for the comments, roasting both Andrew's haircut and enormous ego. Andrew's moustache isn't allowed within 500 feet of a school. That's actually the top comment. Guests like him make me appreciate the comment section being back. I could honestly fill a whole video just reading the comments from this episode and I wouldn't even scratch the surface. And it's funny because every now and then a fan of one of Rogan's 6 never-been-funny comedians will show up in my comment section and say something like, "Oh, what's with all the hate for this guy?" Or "Why does everyone hate Bird or Tom or whoever it is?" Well, I can safely say that it's not the case with Andrew Schulz anymore. Everyone seems to be in on the joke that he has become, and you guys know I've tried to point out his good days whenever I can. Just look at the most recent video on this channel. People were even saying that it was the beginning of his redemption arc. Sadly, this episode of JRE proves the exact opposite. And the best part is, Schulz explained in a couple of sentences exactly what went wrong with his career, except he just didn't realize he was talking about himself.
Okay, so then there's the question. It's like, can you take a completely normal person, give them power, and then they become that? Or does it take a power-hungry person that has this void that they need to be filled, that needs to be filled, and then when they are given that power, you see the worst version of them?
So if you saw the intro of this video, this was part of the discussion about how some people in their business, being stand-up comedy, let the power get to their heads and show their true colors. Let me just clarify this for you. Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz were discussing the problem in show business where some celebrities let the power get to their heads, start to treat people like scum, and show their true colors. Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz were just, okay, I've made my point.
They feel that they can kind of boss people around or throw their weight around to their assistant or their agents. Or maybe they yell when they shouldn't yell or don't have to yell or are demeaning to certain people.
That bothers me, though.
Oh, I hate it.
It really,
I don't like it at all. And then they feel terrible and for no reason when the same exact situation could be handled with a hug. Yeah. You can tell them you appreciate them, you hold their hand, you shake their hand, you give them a hug. Yeah. And then everybody feels good.
Yeah,
that should be what the goal is. Like, you're the guy who is in this very unique, unusual situation, and you have the ability to make everybody feel better.
Yeah.
There's some people that just feel entitled, and they don't feel like... There's certain things that do happen around certain successful people. You'll see they have a few people that have resentment that are around them that realize, like, oh, I'm a support person, and I only have so much room that I can climb. Right. I can never be Andrew Schulz. I'm always going to be this guy who works with Andrew Schulz. Some people are just crazy, which is why they're in show business in the first place.
Yeah.
And they have a distorted perception of reality, and they're not good at being objective. They're not good at seeing the big picture.
Yeah, I seriously don't understand how Rogan can say those things out loud with a straight face, knowing that Schulz has created that exact same situation on his Flagrant podcast, where he has a bunch of yes men that sit around to laugh at Schulz's jokes and gas him up. But one thing we know about our boy Andy is that he's a real deep thinker. He loves an epiphany, and this episode was full of them. So what I did was I pulled out my 3 favorite Schulz epiphanies for you guys so you can decide which one is the most cringe. Like, actually, let me know in the comments below. And remember, I warned you.
I didn't know, like, when we're sending money to Ukraine, we're not really even sending money there. We're sending money to American military manufacturers to make weapons, and then the weapons go to Ukraine.
Duh.
But we're paying us.
Yeah.
Okay. The money is going to these different industries first. So it's kind of staying in America, which does, I guess, boost our economy in some way. Like, those people need to hire people. The economy starts
That's
to
a good way to look at it.
No, but I mean, like, no, for real. Like, it's like they have to hire people. They have to pay people. Like, and that's why war is good for the economy.
Yeah.
We constantly need conflict in order to continue the positive momentum of the economy.
Yes.
But they can't say that. They can't go, hey, we need war in order for the economy to be good.
They're not thinking about the economy. They're thinking about the money that they are specifically going to make from these transactions. And then attach it to different bills, right? Like, attach it to the border bill. Attach it to attach to the education bill.
Randomly has money
we got to
going to
educate. We got to educate those Russians about our bombs. They got to know about a Tomahawk missile. Bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you stop that? Could AI be this next could AI for us be what mushrooms were for these primates?
But times a billion.
Exactly. So mushrooms come around, the apes start using tools, doing whatever they want, and then now you accelerate evolution.
Well, the mushrooms probably are the seed for artificial intelligence, because the mushrooms give you the creativity to start doing wild things in the first place, which always leads to technology, which leads to a life form. Once they become sentient, then they become God, because they make better versions of themselves with no end in sight. If something becomes so advanced that it has control over those forces, and it utilizes all of those forces, and it literally has a complete understanding of everything that's happening at every given time in the entire universe.
If it happens in our lifetime, our generation will have lived before the internet, and singularity.
Yeah, the singularity.
What a crazy
2045
existence.
is what Kurzweil believes.
Imagine we lived through all of that. Imagine we lived through the time where I couldn't get in touch with you unless you were home and could hear your phone.
Yeah.
And we could also live in a time where I could instantaneously be at your fucking house.
Yeah, in the same life.
And that's the problem with information right now. It's like, I don't think we know what to believe about anything. It's like, even the trans visibility day thing, like, every headline was Biden declares Easter Trans Visibility Day.
Right.
And I read it and I was like, there is no way. And I looked into it. Trans Visibility Day started like 15 years ago.
Right.
3 years ago, they declared it. And then Easter obviously changes every year the date. It doesn't change the day.
Right.
And then it ends up on the Sunday.
Right.
But the headline is Biden declares Easter Trans Visibility Day.
Right.
Once I read that and I know it's fake, now every headline is fake to me. They're all using it because there's money to be made out of it.
Clicks.
That click is valuable, and they will knowingly, like we were talking about that woman earlier with the Huberman thing. There is money to be made out of that.
Yes.
And as long as there is money to be made from it, they'll
go for it,
and they'll remove information that is incredibly important to the truth of the story.
Yeah.
I don't know how you solve that.
So I'm tossing up between Schulz discovering the military-industrial complex and his realization that content creators use clickbait to make money. On the one hand, President Eisenhower used the term military-industrial complex in his farewell address way back in 1961 when he warned that we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. So Schulz is over 60 years late with that one. But then on the other hand, Schulz has made a career from clickbait, exaggeration, and scamming his fans, which I'll get into in more detail in a moment. So the clickbait thing for me is either just sheer stupidity on his behalf or just a massive blind spot that he's yet to see. It's a tough choice, but if I had to choose, I'm gonna have to go with the military-industrial complex. Rogan has spoken about this a million times on his podcast, and for a 40-year-old man like Schulz to only just be realizing this 60 years after President Eisenhower warned about it, it really just goes to show how much of a casual he is when it comes to politics and world affairs, especially considering how worldly he thinks he is. But then Schulz got onto his reflections on being a multi-millionaire and how it's changed his perspective on the important things in life.
That's something I've noticed about you, and I think it's a really important thing it's an important quality to have as you achieve more success, because with success, life can get easier. So if you're not addicted to difficulty and like hard situations, it's easy to just kind of fall into the comfort of nothing. Yeah, once you get money, like things become easy, and then anything that's not easy, you get very anxious about and fearful of. So you like hard things. I think a lot of times people don't like hard things. And then when they get success, hard things make them anxious and they stop doing hard things. And hard things are what make us successful. When we have nothing, we have to do hard things.
Yes.
We have to go up in front of crowds that might not be good. We have to go run really hard. We have to work out really hard, whatever it is. Kids who grow up with very wealthy parents are not used to hard things, and they don't really have to do anything hard.
Right.
So it's one of those things that, like, I don't know, as I've gotten a potentially more comfortable life, I like have to like force myself to do things I'm afraid of, or I do think that I would just kind of get weak and fall apart.
Comfort is a warm and enticing poison.
Yep.
I think characters like cardio. I think you have to keep it up.
Yep.
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. You take a few weeks off of cardio, you're like,
Yeah.
I think that's the same with character. And I think it's the same with doing difficult things and also self-assessing, honestly, knowing where you f***ed up.
I was hanging on the beach with my wife on something, and like I'm really bad with vacations if I don't have things to do during it. I can't just hang on the beach.
Yeah.
I cannot do it. If I'm surfing, I can do it, or if I'm
Right.
playing paddle, I can do it, but I need to do shit.
Right.
Give me something to do.
Right.
And my wife knows I don't care if we're looking at the Coliseum, I'm learning, I'm
Yeah.
asking the fucking tour
Let's
guide
go
questions.
fishing.
I
Yeah.
need to do a thing,
Yeah.
because if I'm not, my brain goes fucking crazy.
Okay, first of all, there's an easy fix for that, Schultzy. All you need to do is get off the Adderall and stop swallowing Zins. But I actually think it's funny to watch two millionaire comedians sitting in this fortress podcast studio preaching about doing hard stuff like cardio exercise and keeping their minds busy to help themselves stay grounded and not let the fame and money get to their heads. It's kind of like saying to a homeless person that all they need to do is just buy a house. Or when millionaire influencers share their morning routines with things like, yoga, meditation, lemon-infused iced water, and claim that they owe their success to positive energy and gratitude. As I was watching that though, I actually did feel a sense of gratitude because I was half expecting Rogan to start ranting about how important ice baths are for his daily Oh no, wait, hang on.
I like difficult things. I like that's why I like cold plunging. I like it because it's hard. People are like, I hate it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Every time I'm about to do it,
like,
there's this little bitch-ass part of my brain. It's like, don't do this. You don't need to do this. And the other part of my brain that I've built up over the years, like, shut up, pussy. I'm the boss. If you've built up your understanding of how to get through difficult things, it'll serve you in everything you do. And if you do it voluntarily, then you've gained control over your mental process. You want a Zin?
Yeah.
Sorry, just give me a second here, guys. To gain control over your mental process, do lots of cardio, ice baths, and suck on Zins. Okay, got it. Where was I? Oh yeah, stand-up comedians are geniuses.
You know what's so funny is like, you ever listen to a recording of like a new bit, and when you were on stage doing it, you're like, that crushed. And then when you listen back, you're like, oh, it did okay. But you were just so excited that it worked.
Yes.
That the excitement changed almost the way that you interpreted the crowd.
Yes.
And I don't know, for me, I'm like, oh, that means I really like this. You're on like an emotional wavelength.
Yes.
And yeah, to me, that's like that's the highest form of it. Obviously, you want to have the structure, you want to have the jokes, and you want to have the misdirects and all these things 100%. But to me, I think those are almost like, that's like the icing and sprinkles on the cake. But the cake is built with, how much do I really care about this position?
Yes.
How many of those can I make in my life?
Yeah.
That's to me.
And you always think that when you have a new bit, like, this is the last new bit. Like, I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah,
but you'll always have something to say. You just need the time.
Yeah.
You need the time, and you need to think. And again, it needs to be something you're actually interested in.
Yeah.
So you have to find something you're actually interested in.
Yeah.
That's the difference between thieves. Like that's
don't
why
have interest.
they don't have
They have interest in
interest
killing
themselves.
Exactly.
They're interested in themselves.
How can I succeed?
Yeah,
how can I win?
sociopaths. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you probably caught that at the end there that Rogan was talking about joke thieves, and he actually went into quite a bit of detail in this episode about how much calling out Carlos Mencia affected him when he was younger. But then they get into the whole where the new media and cable news like CNN are out of touch and full of lies and propaganda, which is totally true. I'm here for this. However, what I thought was mind-blowing is how Rogan and Schulz think that they are free from all the corporate constraints and money that control mainstream media. Now, if you weren't aware, Andrew Schulz lied to his fans a couple of years ago by claiming that he had a deal lined up with a streaming service to publish his comedy special, but then they tried to censor him apparently, so he decided to release his special independently. He put it out through his website for a fee, claiming that everyone who bought it would get a link that they could use to watch the special for life, and it would never be released anywhere else, only to drop it on YouTube for free a few weeks later. So with that in mind, take a look at this next clip, and then I'll pick it up after because it gets worse.
People like us don't have to lie.
Yeah.
We have zero incentive to lie.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about these things, like, this is what I know.
Yeah.
You're being lied to. And it's not like there's not a motivation.
Yeah.
Look at the amount of money they're making by f***ing you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a insane sum of money that's involved in a lot of these decisions.
Yeah.
And these decisions roll on whether or not we complain or not.
Maybe that's the solution. Just show how much money people are making.
Yeah.
Show how much money CNN makes from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh,
and then you will
God.
look at every story about pharmaceuticals
Brought
through
to
that
you
lens.
by Pfizer.
That's it. Just
Anderson Cooper. They do it like right in your
in
face.
your face. Now, do you think that the people that are disseminating the information are aware of the bullshit, or they are the useful idiots? Meaning, like,
I think at a certain point in time, they must be aware.
and if they're aware, they're evil. But once you're pushing out information that you know to be false,
Right.
and you're potentially hurting people,
Right.
it doesn't have to be vaccines. It could be anything.
Right now, you're evil.
That's evil.
That's evil. Yeah.
I don't fault someone who's maybe ignorant or a useful idiot or really
Right.
passionate about a thing, but the person that knows
Right.
and still puts it out.
This is one of the many blind spots that Schulz seems to have, and I think he shares these with guys like Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer as well. It's the idea that a lot of the things they criticize others for doing don't apply to them because they're comedians or they're artists or modern-day philosophers or however they see themselves. What Schulz described was exactly what he did to his fans. He knowingly pushed his comedy special out to his audience, fully aware that he intended to publish it for free weeks later on YouTube, but didn't tell them because he wanted them to spend the money, obviously. Not only that, I've said in a previous video on this topic, there was no evidence that he had a streaming deal in the first place. He never said who it was, so all we have to go off is him saying he had a deal and it fell through when he refused their request to edit out one of his jokes. If you remember, at the time, he went on this long rant on one of his podcasts about how he's being censored and how he needed his fans to show up for him and fight back so he could be free to tell his jokes the way he wants without fear of censorship, etc. But now he's saying something completely different. Take a look.
This is a great time for comedy, man.
Yeah.
I think it might be the best time ever.
Of
I
course.
really do. I think this is legitimately the golden age of comedy.
We're in it.
Because it's fun, because comedy's dangerous again.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's so many people that want to restrict what people can and can't talk about. That's unique.
I feel like the restriction is less now.
Really?
Yeah.
Right now, currently.
Like in today, I feel like we can kind of say anything.
All of a sudden, this is the golden age of comedy and there's no censorship. Isn't it funny how comedians like Schulz will make up their own narrative to make some money and then completely flip and claim they're living in a golden age of dangerous comedy? But the thing I find the funniest is how far and wide the Schulz hate has become. I always thought that there was just a smaller group of us who could see through the smoke and called these guys out for what they are, but it wasn't until this particular episode of JRE came out and I scrolled through the comment section that I realized how much everyone else can see what's going on here. The worst part is, we've all heard how Rogan gives his buddies the advice not to read the comment section and to just keep pushing and doing their thing. Now, I can agree with that to an extent, But when basically the whole comment section is negative and calling you out, surely at that point you've got to stop and reflect and, maybe change a few things up or take a break or something. That kind of toxic narcissism and entitlement is what got most of Rogan's buddies into this predicament where they're no longer comedians, they've just become clowns. We've seen Tom and Bert basically accept this reality and lean into it, but for some reason, Schulz is ignoring all the hate he's getting and still pretends like he's some serious thinking comedic artist, when the reality is he's ruined his rise to fame from the pandemic by trying to wear too many hats and jumping between personalities, depending where he is. We've all heard the different accents he puts on with different guests and on different podcasts, and he's clearly just fishing for controversy with that stupid haircut. This guy's all over the place, which is kind of frustrating because just like Tom Segura, there was a time when Schulz was a half-decent comedian. Now it seems like he's run out of material, so he's just trying to position himself as this deep thinker with his cringe epiphanies and hot takes on current events, mind you, most of which are stolen from other commentators and analysts. I mean, it's so obvious that he doesn't have any original thoughts anymore, right? But if you get a chance, head over to the JRE episode and scroll through the comment section. There's more comedy there than in Rogan and Schulz's comedy careers combined. Anyway, that's my breakdown of Schulz's latest appearance on JRE. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this, and if you're not a regular of this channel yet, hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you ended up enjoying this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
If we are really the product of accelerated evolution, which is much specularized.
What does that mean? We're the product of
accelerated evolution.